Okay, this is Robert Meyer, a certified law of attraction coach. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm gonna read you a little fable here. It's called "The Legendary Journey to Earth." Now, during these trying times, many people feel that their way of life leaves them kind of feeling empty and unfulfilled. They wonder what it's all about. Well, let's take a journey here. Let's drift to a world of long ago, one that's fantasy or maybe reality. Let's begin. Now, here's the legend. Just imagine for a moment that eons ago, numerous souls separated from all there is, and we can call all there is God, one mind, universal mind, void, whatever. However, they left believing their attachment was only a short exploration of consciousness. Eventually, some of the wandering souls discovered the planet Earth. Despite their perceived separation, these beings were highly advanced and enlightened. They also possessed a definite purpose, finding new playgrounds that allowed them to experience accelerated awareness. They had an internal knowing that pleasurable, life-enhancing activities were the key to growth and involvement that guided their actions. Now, their desire, of course, was to ascend to the highest states of ecstasy. Now, maybe you're starting to see a major problem developing. Beings who are supposed to be enlightened decided to look outside of themselves for higher awareness. Their unity to absolute truth and knowing began fading away. Although these beings experienced the most advanced states of development, attaining perfection still seemed like a distant dream. As with all living entities, they were liable to err, making some mistakes along the way. On that fateful day, wherever these beings measured time, illusion blinded them to reality. Okay, here's the discovery of illusion. The wandering souls focused on Earth with loving, enlightened eyes. One of them, or maybe all of them, who can really say how enlightened ones communicate, said, "This looks like a fun place to visit. We can create whatever we desire. How wonderful it would be to obtain new knowledge through art, music, and philosophy. It also offers the delights of the flesh. What an exciting, erotic way to exist. Many pleasures of the flesh awaited them." Now, some of the more advanced masters pointed out that pain and suffering were the other side of the coin. However, they concluded that the mental, physical, and spiritual laws that guided existence on Earth were rather simple, child's play. Of course, there are the laws of physics, obvious cause and effect relationships, the laws of economics, so elementary, even unenlightened souls can understand them, and spiritual laws such as do unto others. They decided this is going to be quite an experience. So without further ado, these wandering souls descended to Earth. Okay, here's the descending into the abyss of illusion. You may be asking, how come these advanced beings didn't recognize the contradiction in their reasoning? Why would obviously enlightened souls decide to descend to a lower level of existence when ascension to a higher level appeared to be the logical course of action? It could be that every level of existence, no matter how advanced, offers challenges. However, for now, we can't go back in time and capture their thoughts and feelings. Even if we could, it might be too much for us to withstand. Okay, these marvelous beings begin descending to Earth in soul groups. Some say they came two at a time, one with female energy, the other with male energy. Anyway, adventurous spirits began populating Earth, experimenting with the different facets of life. Before coming to Earth, of course, all the members of the soul group were spiritually and mentally connected. On Earth, each one experienced the pain of separation for the first time. For a time being, it was worth it because each individual felt exhilaration from his separateness. Each person believed that he or she could always reconnect with all there is. Okay. Now, I've referred to something called the hive mind mentality. That means everybody adopts what everybody else thinks. Now, are you beginning to see how the hive mind mentality came about? Well, anyway, happily each man and woman loved and laughed, worked and played, realizing the thrills of positive emotions. Unfortunately, their lives were polluted with pain and sorrow caused by negative thoughts and feelings. And in addition, the discovery of the ecstasies of the flesh also came with the other side of the coin, the agony caused by wars, pestilence, starvation, betrayal, and death. Sadly, they couldn't escape the wheel of birth, death, and rebirth. And most tragic of all, each lone individual forgot. Each man and woman unwittingly descended into the abyss of illusion. Okay, now as I mentioned, the social maze, that's what we live in. It seems like sometimes you might feel like we're all rats in a maze, just running around aimlessly. Well, anyway, these people got trapped in the social maze. The day arrived when nobody remembered the origin or the reason he came to Earth. The lone individual was forever trapped in the social maze. Suddenly, the development of the vision of labor in a society that had no conception of the right of the individual began creating the hive mind mentality. That means conformity became the way, and existence became difficult. People began lamenting that life was so hard. Living in the flesh was pain and suffering, not pleasure and ecstasy. Incredibly, some of their leaders created religions that condemned the flesh. Many religious leaders called various pleasures of life sins of the flesh. Soon an elite took control of earthly affairs, which is exactly what we have right now. Everyone else became worker bees, hopelessly trapped in a social maze that resembled sort of like a giant wasp's nest. And before long, the neurotic illusions of love caused it to change into a double-edged sword, much sharper and deadlier on the negative side. Love became as slippery as a careless stroll on an icy pond. And you probably notice it, how difficult love relationships seem to be these days. The few who are lucky enough to find love's secret hideaway soon discovered the love he or she so much cherished was a maker of despair. The oneness experienced in love had taken a permanent vacation. Okay, finally, of course, ignorance takes over. The religions taught them about salvation and condemnation. Almost everyone was oblivious to their once upon a time existence as highly evolved eternal beings. But try imagining this. Beings that once experienced enlightenment now live with unbearable guilt about any pleasure they indulged in, suffering restless nights and polluted nightmares of burning in the pits of hell. The hive mind mentality transformed Earth from a playground into a universal hell. They obviously they remained aware of some of the obvious laws of physics, such as immediate cause and effect. Minds captured by the social maze attributed these, of course, to a vengeful God or a numerous amount of gods or whatever, or maybe some just called it plain bad luck. In fact, their delusions caused them to tangle up the spiritual and physical beliefs into a superstitious web of personal enslavement. Now, of course, there's always the elite and the people that preach exactly what you should do, and you're supposed to follow them no matter what your heart says. They kept people in line by preaching the virtues of selflessness and self-sacrifice, which means you were just supposed to sacrifice your interest to whatever they told you to. This, along with religious indoctrination, kept the beehive running smoothly, although rebels with independent minds all quite often challenged it. Unfortunately, those courageous thinkers often ended up tortured, hung, burned at the stake, or if they were lucky, just ostracized. Of course, that's what happens now. That anybody that questions the way things are quite often gets ostracized. The uncomplicated laws of economics vanish from their awareness, is why you continually see economic problems. Falsehood and illusion captured the center stage, keeping them in a state of ignorance century after century. As you can see, this unhappy state of affairs firmly entrenched members of the political and financial establishment. Maybe you feel like you're being victimized by them, although, you can use the law of attraction to overcome that. Any individual, of course, who displayed signs of awakening and remembering his or her origin risked his life, liberty, and property. Hell and earth became synonymous. Okay, now let's escape from the hive mind mentality. Now, as you absorb this information, you'll probably wonder if there exists any hope for mankind. Let's look at this at the point of the view of the individual. You know that you are a unique individual, right? That realization is enough to disqualify you for the hive mind mentality. There is plenty of hope. You can live as an integrated individual. Now, here's a word of warning. Don't become discouraged if we seem to suffer through some dark days caused by ignorance, economic, and universal laws. Still, as you begin seeing through the illusions of the social maze, you will experience a clarity of mind and spirit. Now, are you beginning to see how the controllers of the hive mind mentality brainwashed people into believing non-reality was reality? Now, our little fable, or is it a fable, demonstrates how easily living beings can descend into a world of illusion. Well, you and I are here to conquer the illusions that others so fervently cling to. Now, we refuse to remain trapped. We will act as an integrated individual, and we will learn how to use the law of attraction effectively to manifest the life we desire. Well, that's all there is for now. I do have something to show you here. This is Robert Meyer, of Integrated Law of Attraction Coach. Now, you can visit my website. There it is. Visit Robert Meyer. LOA.com. That's Robert Meyer, LOA.com. We have many nice resources for you to take advantage of. And that's all for now, so thanks.